Etwa.
Before we begin, in order to begin, we need to make Havdalah, and to do that for us, we turn to our Chazan in residence and violin virtuoso, Rabbi Landau. While Yona is getting ready, I think Heshi Brody is going to be Mahana the Island with the nigga a little later.
Is this on? Yeah. So is this too loud for everyone, or is this just right for everyone? Now it's just right? A little more sound. More juice. That's good, I think, right? Juice. Everyone, thank you so much for coming. Good to see you again. So tonight we're going to continue with another enchanted evening with Rabbi Meir Funds. For those of you who were lucky enough to be here last night, you got to hear Rabbi Meir speak, and many of you know him as leader of the Flatbush Minions. Those of you who were here last night heard me introduce him as one of the pioneers of Jewish outreach. He created a model for what it means to reach out to people with little background, with little experience, and to bring them to full observance and to live a wonderful Jewish life. So tonight we're going to let him speak a while and then field some of the penetrating questions and thought-provoking questions that I know you all want to be asking him. Please welcome Rabbi Meir Funds.
First of all, let's see if this works. Hello? 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 Okay, we'll see if we need it. First of all, I'd like to wish everyone a very, very Zisa Lechtige Gittavach. And I want to take this occasion, I didn't know last night, to wish Yanko the happiest happy birthday. And you should go, Yanko, from strength to strength. Amen. Let's do a little niggin, and then let's start. And we have Hashem a choir here. We'll all be the choir together, so you'll join me. La 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 ay 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 la 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 ay ay la 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 ay 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 ay
Tessie is very grateful.
Yeah.
Why without the mic? Dusha said, there's no need to push. If you're meant to hear, you'll hear it every time. The famous story, there were a lot of people shtupping. Anyone who's ever been to care in Eretz Yisrael, Dusha says, if you're meant to hear, you will hear. Doesn't mean sometimes we shouldn't use a little effort to make sure people hear. But sometimes the more anxious you are for people to hear, the less they hear. That's how come too many people are anxious, not just to have people hear, but that they should be heard. So we all have to watch out for that. So if there's a room that's very small, and I stand with a mic and yell, that shows it's not so much I want you to hear, it's I want to be heard.
Somehow last night managed without a practice.
That's what I was.
The same room.
A few years ago, a fellow in Eretz Yisrael published a little sefer of Shlomo's teachings that I always keep coming back to. I don't know if any of you saw this. It's called Omek Haleh. And it's organized by topics. There's a section on love, on light, on the land of Israel, on soulmates, and so on and so forth. And we all know that Parshas Kedoshim is perhaps the parsha which gave Rabbi Shlomo Carlebach more of his energy than maybe any other parsha in the Torah. Because Shlomo all the time was talking about being holy and loving. Kedoshim to you. And V'ahavta L'Yacha Kamocha. So tonight, what I'd like to share with you, Yaakov thought it would be a good thing if we open it up to questions. I'm sure we'll do that, and it will be what it's meant to be. But I'd like to do a few of the pieces almost spontaneous. I didn't prepare in advance. One of the beautiful things about Shlomo was that he was spontaneous. So every now and then, in company where the consequences aren't so heavy, I'll afford myself the risk also being spontaneous. First thing is like this. Shlomo says, it's not good enough to love another Jew because he's part of the Jewish people. We call the mitzvah of loving a fellow Jew the mitzvah of Avas Yisrael. And no doubt about it, it's a great thing to love another Jew just because that person is a Jew. There are 13 Jews right now in Iran whose lives are hanging by a thread. We care about them. We don't know anything about them personally. But we know they are fellow Jews, and therefore we're involved. That's one level of Avas Yisrael. But Shlomo goes on and he says, part of the mitzvah of Avas Yisrael is for me to love a friend who is a fellow Jew because of who he is as a person. Now, I also have to strive to love that person individually rather than just love him because he is part of the collective of Klal Yisrael. I have to get to know that person and know. So I could love him for who he or she is. There's a saying that goes very nicely with it. There are some people who are great at Avas Yisrael, but they are horrible at Avas Reb Yisrael. They love you until they know you. They love you in theory, but in actuality, it's all gut to you. You put them in the same room with you, and they have an allergic reaction. This is Avas Reb Yisrael. That's number one. You have to cultivate the ability to love the individual. Then he goes on. He says, a Jew has to believe that no encounter is meaningless. Every time you meet someone else, there's a purpose for the meeting. Every person that you meet in your life that you didn't know before, there's something that's supposed to happen between you and that person, and that's why you're meeting. He says, maybe what's going on is unfinished business from previous lifetime. And maybe all it takes in order to do what needs to be done is one kind word, one small favor. And he adds, who knows if you miss the opportunity, if you want him to come back to the world another time, just for that one word and one favor. Gimel, number 3. He says, to love another person for real is a taste of what the world will feel like when Mashiach comes. See, we have all kinds of wonderful imaginations and fantasies. What will the world be like when Mashiach comes? But whatever God wants to give us ultimately, He gives us a foretaste. Like Shabbos is Me'en Olam Haba. Shabbos is a foretaste of the world to come. So Shlomo says, when you meet someone, you love that person, that's a foretaste when Mashiach will come. It's a foretaste, but it's a taste. How do I know if someone I'm close to is really a good friend of mine or not? What's the test? What do you say, Rachel?
When you're not smiling, when you're not happy, they still want to be with you. They're willing just to be near you when you come to office.
So Shlomo says like this, there are 2 levels to this. There's a good friend and there's a true friend. With regard to a good friend, you know that this person is a good friend if when you find yourself in this person's company, you feel an aspiration that you want to be better. If being with this person makes you want to grow, to be more than you were until now. Because let's face it, most of the time, we're living as if we would already be in the Senate. Nothing has gone on. Inner life, 0. When you meet a good friend, suddenly you come to life. Like spring. You go from winter to spring. That's if you meet a good friend. You know what happens if you meet a true friend? If you meet a true friend, not only you wish you were better, you already are becoming better. Now, the next point is actually similar to what we were discussing a bit before, an earlier point. He says, again, supposing my capacity to love another Jew is because there's a mitzvah to love that person. Is that the mitzvah? If I eat matzah because there's a mitzvah to eat matzah, I did the mitzvah. If I put on tefillin because there's a mitzvah to put on tefillin, I put on tefillin. How about if I love someone and I show my love to another Jew because it's a mitzvah to love that person? Is that an analogous, full-fledged mitzvah or something is missing? What do you say? Why doesn't it work? Yeah, because the mitzvah is for me to love that person even if there wouldn't be a mitzvah. As long as my feelings for that person are dictated because God says I have to, that means it's not coming from me. It's coming from the mitzvah. So the mitzvah is to get me started so that I work up enough of an appetite so that it becomes my thing. Usually we go from doing it because you want to do it to doing it because God says to do it. It works in the opposite direction. It begins because God said, but it's got to end because now it comes from you. You've internalized it so it becomes your own thing. Yes, sir.
If this is not what promote us, if the person is superficial, then maybe he just needs to be a superficial type of love.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
It's promote.
That's right. Now, let's go into the next halacha here. Who should you pick the most to be your friend? Someone who is motivated by the Torah of Ahavas Yisrael, they want to approach friendship from that standpoint. Who should be the first person to make you a friend? You know who? Someone that you don't feel like being their friend. And who are the people that you don't feel like being a friend? The people in this world who are the most lonely. The hardest wall to crack is the wall of loneliness. There are people who by nature are withdrawn. They cut off. They push you away without even them having to say so. Either they're cold, or they're angry, or they're obnoxious. But the bottom line is, these are people who, because of how they present themselves, they're all alone. It's like a mess mitzvah. Who is at the highest level of mitzvah to seek burial for? Someone that is lying there unburied that no one is taking care of. There are people, living people, who are mess mitzvah people. No one wants to be their friend. That's the highest level of choosing a friend. Begin with such a person. Next. Supposing, sorry. So, as much as they push you away, why are they pushing you so hard away? Because they're really wishing you'd get close to them. You know, the old line of protesting too much, right? The more someone is denying something, the more it shows they really, really, really want it. It's a little bit like a story that Shlomo told. I'm sure some of you heard it, but it always keeps coming back to me. It's such a great story. He gave a concert many, many years ago in Eretz Yisrael, and after the concert, this guy comes up to him, introduces himself, gives him his card. He says, I am the president of the Israel Atheist Society. And I want to talk with you, Rabbi Carlebach. Sure enough, Shlomo books him for breakfast the next morning, go to Dinnerstein. And this guy talks and talks. For 45 minutes, he's presenting his case. Finally, he's done, he's exhausted. He says to Shlomo, no, what do you think about what I said? Shlomo looks at him, he says, what I think is you are one of the most religious people I ever met in my life. He says, religious people? How could you say such a thing? He says, it's very simple. I never met someone who thinks so much about God like There's a tremendous step to it. Someone who really doesn't believe. Do you know anyone that belongs to the anti-flat Earth society? You know, there are more anti-religion people in Israel than anywhere else in the world. I don't understand. If you think that religious people are like on the level that they believe the Earth is flat, what are you thinking about? So that's on that level. People who are busy pushing friends away, it's a little bit similar. You have to catch the subtlety.
So how are you to determine that? If they're pushing you away because of their personality, they're pushing you away because they
Those
don't want to be bothered.
are the people, Shlomo says, that you should try the most to be friends with. You may not always succeed. And it's a process, right? It's not an instant thing, but that's just like in Torah study. You wouldn't be happy just to study Chumash. If you are capable of learning Gemara, you shouldn't just stick to Chumash, you should go on to Gemara. If you're capable, one day God gives you the capacity to study Kabbalah and Zohar, so after you fill your belly with the Gemara and Rishonim, you go on and study that too. Imagine if someone would say, you know, I read Chumash, so why go do more? Wouldn't be the right thing. Many of us don't realize, there's a saying, it's along those lines. Shlomo actually would say this many times. He would say that some people have come to the world, there are some people who come to the world to resolve a difficult statement of the Rambam. But who is coming to resolve a difficult truth? The person that makes it the hardest for you to be their friend, that's the person you're meant to be their friend. Don't be scared. Just like when you learn the Gemara, you don't always understand it the first time. You keep at it. You come back, you try another day, and so on and so forth. Yes?
Couldn't it develop to codependency?
What's codependency? How do you say it in Yiddish? Everything could
If you
be,
run after the
if you
one that
worry
is-
about things that could go wrong, there is nothing in the world that couldn't go wrong. The trick is to believe it could go right. You're right, of course you could do it. I didn't say you should give the guy money to buy
If someone is
cocaine.
unavailable, you know, they keep on pushing you away and you're starting to
So, I didn't say
try
you
to fix
marry
them.
them.
It's a people pleaser.
You don't have to marry them. You don't even have to fix them. You just have to knock on their door and say, hi, I'm there. I'm your friend. This guy sits there all lonely, all shriveled up. Say, the Shabbos, how are you? You're so beautiful. You're not looking to get anything from that person. And therefore, it doesn't matter to you if the person responds, or it takes them a long time to respond. That's the mitzvah. Those are the people that it's the greatest mitzvah to try and love and be their friends. The people that make it hardest on us. Intuitively, we gravitate to those people that come easiest, but they need us the most. They need us the least. It's the people that make it hard on us, they need it the most. And listen, everyone here knew Shlomo, everyone knew this was one of his specials. He composed one of his classic Nigudim, Laman Achai V'Rayai. And I heard this from the guy who was in the room when this melody was composed. What's his name? David Ziller. It was in the late 60s in San Francisco. And he invited all the hippies for breakfast to some fancy hotel. And they walked in there, you know, you could only imagine the odors and the sanitary level. It was the Anshe Knesset of the hippies. And he was sitting there talking about love, and suddenly the door opens. And the most horrible, smelly, creepy person walks in. In this crowd, this guy was like the king of kings. Smelled. And Shlomo, I'm sure, realized instantaneously that this is the make or break moment. Because facts of life, anyone can talk the talk, but now can he walk the walk? So he jumped out of his seat, he went up to this guy, put his arms around him, and said, oh, I'm so... He sat down, and David Zal said at that moment he realized this is going to be his Rabbi. And shortly after he started playing with the guitar and he composed Laman Achai V'Rayai, which is of course the ultimate song of friendship. But the melody came to him at that very moment that Imamish was Gadol Talmud Shemevi L'Dei Maaseh. He did it. This is what we're hanging on to. The hardest of all of Carlebachian Torah, let's say, the hardest aspect of what Shlomo did is the capacity for friendship that he displayed and consistently practiced. Because let's face it, anyone could fake, or even for real, roll their eyes and sing and talk like I'm talking and teach. But this is the acid test. Where am I when it comes to someone that there's no reward for me being nice to that person, not in this world, and not, it would seem, in any world. And yet, here I am. That's Abbas Yisrael. Okay, next. Shlomo says, all the arguments that people have between each other, and all the arguments that people have in their homes, in their families, so 99% of it, you know what it's all about, is that it comes from being so petty and so small. And if only a person is privileged to become a little bigger than they were 5 minutes ago, that's how you bring peace to your family and peace to the world. What are you fighting about? Most of the things we fight about, by way of example, You watch the little children fighting in the sandbox, no? This one is holding on, this is my toy, this one says, this is your toy. Or sometimes you go for Shabbos somewhere out of New York, and there's a little community somewhere, there's 3 Jews, and they have 2 shuls. So, like, you know, on the desert island, this guy was shipwrecked, he built 2 shuls, he was there for 100 years, he built 2 shuls. Finally, the ship shows up to save him. They say, why do you build 2 shuls? He says, in case I get in a fight with the first one. So, it's very easy. You look down and you say, what pettiness? And what do you think the things that we're fighting about? Someone with a more expanded mind would look down on our Mishigas and say, what pettiness? This is where it begins. Stretch yourself. Think big. Expand yourself. And Shlomo goes on to say that this is really the key. The key to being able to love people is attitudinal. How we think that loving has to do with the heart, and it does. But Shlomo says before you can love right with your heart, it begins with your head. If you think small, you love small. If you think big, you love big. If every little thing is so important to you, right? If the salt shake has to be exactly in this spot, and if it's not in this spot, oh my God, what's going on? I want to go on to another piece here, and this is the section dealing with love. Then he's got another section that deals just with who is a Jew, human being. So I want to throw in a few pieces from that one too. You know, we'll begin with a piece that has to do with Motzei Shabbos. It's called Motzei Shabbos. Everyone knows that Elijah the prophet never died. And we know on Motzei Shabbos, Eliyahu Novi, we're told, is sitting in paradise, and he's singing the praises of the Jewish people. So the question is, how come of all Jews that ever lived and ever will live, only Eliyahu Novi was given this utmost privilege that he should live forever? There must have been other good people around, right? We have Moshe Rabbeinu, we have Rabbi Akiva, we have the Baal Shem Tov. How come Eliyahu Novi? What was his special thing? So it doesn't go into all of this here. I'm just going to expand on it a bit to make it a bit clearer. You know how Eliyahu Novi began his career? We are told by Chazal, the Medrash says, Eliyahu Novi's initial impulse, he was the heaviest critic of the Jewish people. He lived in a time and a place where the Jews were bad. Almost all the Yidden were running after the Canaanite gods and the Philistine gods, and Israelis were running off to Tibet and Kathmandu and doing, going off to the yogis and they were all into idolatry. I read in the Israeli papers a few months ago, a group of Israeli students went from Tel Aviv to spend a week or two with Bedouins in the Sinai to get godliness from them. And they were asked, why don't you go get it from your own? They said, we're going to go sit with those black hats in Meir Shalim. Meanwhile, the journalist was reporting the level of tzniut, the Bedouin community. The women are completely separated from the men. They live in other tents. The whole thing is like medieval, So the reporter was struck. He says, why is it that you're going to the Bedouins? How much more black could the blacks in Meir Shalim be? I mean, not the race, you know what I mean by the expression, right? It's used for ultra-Orthodox, of course, the blacks, right?
Black hats.
The black hats. How much more black could the Hasidim be in Meir Shalim compared to the people you're going to in the Sinai, the Bedouins? But never mind, they're off to the Bedouins. It's exotic. So when Eliyahu Novi was swinging, full swing, that's what is if the Jewish people looked like. And he was so, shall we say, irritated and angry. The Novi says he brought down on the heads of the Jewish people 2 years there should be no rain, there should be nothing. And then there was this great encounter at Carmel, and Eliyahu realizes he had it all wrong. He realizes how Yidden are willing, at the drop of a hat, just show them the truth for 1 minute and they'll drop all the idolatry. All of Israel, who had been so heavily into idolatry, they dropped it all and they said, Pe'achad, all together, Hashem hu Elokim. So, what's the story of Eliyahu Novi? Eliyahu Novi is the one who came to the utmost realization not to see bad or to say bad or to think bad about another Jew. So Shlomo says the following. He says, you know why Eliyahu Novi didn't get to die? Because he didn't want to die. You say, wait a minute, what do you mean he didn't want to die? A lot of people don't want to die. The angel of death, God forbid, doesn't come and interview you and ask you, what are your plans for the weekend? God forbid, the angel of death comes, that's it, they knock you off. Who cares that Eliyahu Novi didn't want to die? Why does that give him clarity? But Shlomo says, you know why Eliyahu Novi didn't want to die? Because Eliyahu Novi was the one who came to realize, like never before, that every Jew and every Jewish child has something so special. Why does Eliyahu Novi come to every bris? You know why? Because Eliyahu Novi cannot contain himself with joy that a Jewish child has been born. Yeah. You know, if God forbid, you have trouble having a baby, and Hashem blesses you, after many years, you're the happiest person a child is born. There's a family simcha, you go. But, as I say, there's a bris, mazel tov. It's okay. Eliyahu Novi, every Jewish child was for him like the most unbelievable thing in the world. A Yiddish kid. So Shlomo says, Eliyahu Novi realized, it was so clear to him, that every individual Jew has something so uniquely special that no one else in the world, no other Jew, no one, ever before or after will ever have again. And for this reason, Eliyahu Novi cannot bear to die because he has to see every Jew in the world. Yeah, Baruch Hashem, everyone wants to live a little bit longer and a lot longer. I want to do another mitzvah, another mitzvah. The question is, why do I want to live? How much do I want to live? Eliyahu Novi had the ultimate, the utmost realization how every Jew is a sefer Torah. Every Jew has a letter of the Torah that particular Jew is shining in a way that no one else before, after will shine. And the question is, do I have the ability to learn that letter from that Jew? There's a level of wisdom of being able to learn from every person. But Eliyahu Novi was the utmost student, and that's why he became the utmost teacher. Why does Eliyahu Novi have the role that's assigned to him that he is coming to ultimately resolve all of our unanswered questions? Right? Whatever we don't know, the Gemara says, one day Eliyahu Novi will come and he'll for answer. Why Eliyahu Novi? You know why? Because who do we trust to answer our deepest questions? You know who? Our deepest student. Our relationship with Eliyahu Novi does not begin with because he comes to teach us. You know what the basis initially of our relationship with him? He comes to learn from us. He stands at our side, from the moment that we've come into the world. And you'll say, well, that covers the men. How about the women? But everyone knows that every Jewish soul that comes down to the world, there's a half and there's another half. So when Eliyahu Novi is standing by one half, he's ipso facto already absorbing what the other half has to say also. Eliyahu Novi is standing at the crib side or the whatever you want to call it side of that shah and is saying, you are my teacher, I want to learn your letter in Torah. I want to learn what you have to teach. I don't want to go learn Torah in heaven. I want to learn what you, a living Jew, has to teach me. And because Eliyahu Navi is on that level of such strong commitment to see every Jew, and because he therefore is unprepared to die until he gets to fulfill that aspiration, Shlomo says that's actually the reason why Eliyahu Navi doesn't ever get to leave the world. He's too busy. He's got another Jew to say Shalom Aleichem. He's got another Jew to hear and learn from. Shlomo actually used to say that he had his goal set out that he wanted to do Shalom Aleichem to every Jew who was alive in the world. And probably no other Jew ever said Shalom Aleichem to so many people as he did. It's hard to imagine that anyone else will ever know or think of or find out about could have greeted so many people the way Shlomo did, except in virtual reality. But in actual reality, he probably exceeded anyone, ever. So where does this come from? This comes from the Eliyahu Navi place inside himself and inside each and every one of us. And Eliyahu Navi, who was the epitome of that, he doesn't leave the world. He lives forever. Because he's busy with living people. You know when they take you away from here? When you're done with the living. As long as you have business with the living, you stay with the living. Eliyahu Navi had so much business with the living, he's still living, he's still alive. Yes, my friend.
So then, why not continue the way that for? He was, and why remain as
The angel of death was saying that this is spoiling his business. In other words, it had somehow within the confines of this world, nature cannot be totally shattered. If Eliyahu Navi would be 4,200 years old and the scientists would come and do a DNA specimen and they would realize he's older than the dinosaurs, right? There would be no Bechira, there would be nothing, right? How do Eliyahu Navi comes back? How do we see him? Only by closing our eyes. The living Eliyahu Navi you don't see with open eyes, you only see with closed eyes. I actually had a kid who used to come to my Seder and he would claim when we opened the door for Eliyahu Navi that he could see it. You know the story Shlomo once told. It goes back to, he was giving a concert in Boston. It was a little bit after a certain Pesach, and there was an audience there of people. He was talking about Eliyahu Navi and how the children see Elijah, but the adults don't. And there was a woman there in the audience. She began crying when he said those words. She came up to him afterwards. She says, "Rabbi, I have to tell you the story." She says, we have a 3-year-old daughter. We lived in one of the suburbs in Newton, wherever they lived. And my parents were not that religious. My husband came from a totally secular Jewish home. And goes without saying, we were not in any way, shape, or form intending to give our daughter any kind of religious education. However, down the block there was a small playgroup at the local temple. We have this 3-year-old daughter. It seemed convenient. We decided to send her there. She's learning about the Jewish holidays. And before Pesach, she was all excited. She insisted she wanted a small Seder. And I spoke to my husband, he agreed. The night of the Seder, there's a little matzah on the table, and she asks her 4 questions. Then her husband says, okay, he says, Joanne, it's time for you to go to sleep. She says, go to sleep? She says, don't you know we have to open the door for Elijah the prophet? He says, you have to do what? And he becomes angry. When Shlomo wanted to imitate someone being angry, the guy got angry. And he says, disgusting. What are you teaching my daughter all this nonsense for? Who needs it? Who wants it? I knew we shouldn't have sent her there to that playgroup. And the poor girl is banished. She's got to go off to sleep. The house becomes completely quiet. 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes pass. The mother decides to check on her Joanne to find out everything is okay. She goes out and she sees little Joanne with her eyes glazed, staring out the living room window. They had this big picture window in the living room. She comes up to her little daughter. She puts her hand on her shoulder. She says, "No, what are you looking at out there, Joanne?" And Joanne turns to her mother. She says, "You mean that you can't see?" Little girl will see Eliyahu Navi outside the window. You mean you can't see? One last piece. Thomas says like this. This is the last item I want to learn. Then if some of you have some questions, comments, gesundheit, we've got to leave some more for next time also. He says, there are two kinds of people with prophetic eyes. There's one kind of person with prophetic understanding and prophetic eyes that this person can see from one end of the world to the other. Can see all the mystical secrets, all kinds of things. Then Shlomo says there's another kind of prophecy. This prophecy comes from King David and comes from Mashiach. You know what that prophecy is? To be able to see a Jew who is sinful from head to toe, filthy from head to toe, disgusting from head to toe, and to be able to see through this person's charade that this person is indeed a tzaddik God. And there's a story that goes along with this one too that might help to clarify that one. The story is told going back to a generation or two after the Baal Shem Tov. There was this Yid who was like the worst Jew in the world. It's like in those days you'd say a capo Jew. He would go to the Goyim, and anytime he could turn a fellow Jew in, he would make up stories and he would whatever, and it was really bad. People were paying with their lives because of what this person was doing. So finally, a group of very great tzaddikim got together. They decided they would do a ceremony, and with God's help, this masa, whatever you want to call him, he dropped dead. It would be the end of it. And there was one of the great tzaddikim who they wished to include in the quorum for doing this. He refused. They asked him, how come you're refusing? What could be worse than this person? He says, you want me to participate in snatching this Jew away? Don't you know, he says, this Yid, this Jew, one day will be a source of tremendous joy for the Mashiach. Who's that? This is the story. He says, how do you think, he says, Mashiach is going to come? What's going to happen? He says, it's going to be an ordinary day like any other day, nothing special, no even big news. But somehow, suddenly, a group of Jews are going to get together, and they're going to feel this tremendous yearning. They want to go to shul. Just like that. They want to go to a beis medrash, to a shul, to a shtibel, without realizing it, without even checking it out with each other. They'll just, wherever they are, you know, if you're in the Diamond District, there's a shul there in 60, they're going to run to the shul. The shul is going to fill up with Jews, and somehow they're all going to be lifted off the ground and off their Yisrael. Then other Jews are going to come running to the shul. Jews who are more remote, more distant. And this is going to continue until every Jew, wherever he or she is going to feel this incredible urge. I got to be with my fellow Jews. They're going to run to shul, and the shul is going to lift off the ground, off their Yisrael. It's Gemara, actually. That all the shuls will end up in Yisrael. What does it mean? All the shuls will end up? The Yidden of the world will go to those shuls, and those shuls will function kind of as, you know, as whatever you want to call it. Send them off. However, there's going to be one Jew who's going to be so fagoyish, so cold, so frozen, he will not feel the urge to go to shul even then. Even when the last busload is off, he is still going to live among the Goyim there, you know, in Idaho. And that's it, with the Aryan nation. That's it. Now, meanwhile, the world is going to be tumbling as this Mashiach of the Jews, and he's conquering the whole world, and the whole world is subservient to him. And the Goyim, in the proximity of this Jew, the king is going to be very interested to find out, you know, we've got to establish diplomatic relations with this Mashiach. He's a superpower. So when you go to visit a big king, a president, you bring a gift. So they're going to have the CIA research, what does Mashiach love the most? You know, a bottle of wine, well, what do we bring? A jacuzzi, what will they bring for the Mashiach? You know what the report is going to come back? There is one thing that the Mashiach is into, and more than that, nothing can make him as happy. You know what he wants, the Mashiach? He wants Jews. He wants Jews. So they're going to look high and low, where there's no Jew to be found. Suddenly, someone's going to remember, you know, this guy, he calls himself, you know, Alan Kingston. His real name was Alan Carlebach. 3 generations back, he's really a Jew. He just pretends not to be a Jew. They're going to send a delegation to Alan Carlebach's house. They're going to say, we have decided that you're going to perform the ultimate service for your country. We are delivering you as a gift to the Mashiach of the Jews. He said, oh, anything but that. They say, it doesn't matter, we're not asking you. You are on your way. And they take him, you know, they tie a birthday ribbon around him, the whole deal. They put him in cargo, they deliver him to Eretz Yisrael, and the ambassador brings this Jew to the palace of the Mashiach. And this Jew, he really smells horrible. I don't mean physically, but spiritually. This is mamish, the worst Jew. I mean, I don't need to tell you this Jew. Could you imagine? Every other Jew has gone back to Eretz Yisrael, and this Jew is so beyond, he doesn't even want to go. To call him a self-hating Jew is a compliment. It's not even that. It's beyond that. So the guards at the door, when they see this person arriving, they don't want to let him in. They say, what are you bringing? Who wants this person? Get him away. But on the upper level, the Mashiach comes to the window. He opens the window. He says, what a smell, what a delicious aroma, bring this Jew in. So he says, you want me to deny the Mashiach his gift?
The Jews for Mashiach. The Jews for Mashiach.
Right, the Jews for Jay, one day those Jews will be the Jews for Mashiach. Couldn't have still been. Questions and comments, my friends? Yankel is good at shaking the tree to get a question. Yankel is outside looking for Jews. I want to thank all of you for your openness to learn. Yes, go ahead.
What's the name of the book?
Okay, this little sefer is called Carlebach. It was put out by a gentleman called Yoshua Witt and his son Yachad Witt.
Where do they sell it?
Good question. I could find out for you. If you ask me, I'll be glad to find out. Yes.
You said that the Yahweh Navi is alive.
Yes.
Why does it say Zachur Latov? Zachur is in the past.
Because, again, outwardly, remember what we said, outwardly, Eliyahu Navi is no longer alive. He did leave this world. He did divest himself from his physical body. That's outwardly. Inwardly, whenever he needs to come back to the world, there's a special body, like Superman. There's a special body, and he can go into it. Then he functions in this world. When it's time for him to go up, he's Oleh Yored, right? The Gemara says that the highest angel can go from heaven to earth with one jump. Eliyahu Navi has to take 4 jumps. But with 4 jumps, he comes down to this world. So he could go up and down 1 million times a minute. You know, it's beyond time. He's outside of time and space as we know it. So on the one hand, he did leave the world. On the other hand, he's still here. So he gets to be that way because no one else realized so much how precious every Jew is. Since it's his thing, God doesn't take that away from him. So he is around other Jews all the time. Yes, Uri.
I was in Muncie the other day, and I met somebody, and he said that he's very, kind of a very zealous kind of person, a very, and he was discussing the idea of Ahavas Yisrael. I have to mention Shlomo Carlebach, I mentioned that. And he got into a whole diatribe, in a nice way. But he said that there is no chiyuv to have Ahavas Yisrael for somebody who is not a Shomer Shabbos person, who doesn't want to be a Shomer Shabbos.
Did he cite his sources?
He cited the source.
What was the source?
He cited a source in Shulchan Aruch.
What is essential to know?
That if a person is not like he cited the source exactly, it was in the I forgot to see, but he said that if a person is not Shomer Shabbos, then he is not. He gave the example of Yain.
Yeah, but did he distinguish between someone who isn't because of spite vis-a-vis someone who isn't because of ignorance?
Yeah, he did actually.
Well, that's the key difference. So
Yeah,
almost
that's
any
fine.
non-Shomer Shabbos you will meet today in the world is doing it out of spite. Not out of spite, but out of lack of exposure.
But the fact that he mentioned it to me indicated to me that there is a school of opinion among the Frum Belt, all right, that there may not be a chiyuv to have complete Ahavas Yisrael for all Jews, and that to me was disturbing. So, you may be like a hair splitting and say, well, if he's a Tina Shanishba and this.
Well, here's what the truth is. The Alter Rebbe says in the 32nd chapter of the Tanya, the Alter Rebbe says there is a person who, after going through a series of steps, the outcome would be that this person you are allowed to hate. However, even that person you have to continue to love also. And that's the hardest thing in the world, that the Jew you are already permitted to hate, you are also obligated to continue loving. The Alter Rebbe says, even the person you are permitted to hate. I think most of us would agree, let's say, an unrepentant couple, someone we might classify as someone we might be permitted to hate, right? But even the Jew you are permitted to hate, the Alter Rebbe says in the 32nd chapter of the Tanya, you only are permitted to hate the bad in that person. But is there such a thing as a Jew who is completely bad? It can't be. Does not every Jew have in him a nitzutz Eloki, a divine spark? So the Alter Rebbe says, even that Jew who fits the criteria, and I emphasize, the Jew who would fit that criteria, you would have to go through a lot of moves. You'll have to read that chapter and you'll see, till you get to that point, but even that Jew you have to continue to love. Uri, I'm not aware of anyone of stature in the Jewish world today who would say that that there are Jews that you should not be interested in bringing closer because they're not religious.
No, he said there's no chiyuv.
I think that the only valid line of demarcation which has to be made is that we may not, in order to love another Jew, transgress the Torah in the process. In other words, loving another Jew is part and parcel of the Torah, which has 613 mitzvahs in it. No one ever suggested that in order to fulfill that mitzvah, you're allowed to trash any other mitzvah. Just as any given mitzvah wouldn't override another mitzvah, so this mitzvah has claim on us together with all the other mitzvahs. We have, for example, just 1 second, right? We have, for example, priorities. We know that Shabbos is the highest mitzvah in the world, but I'm allowed to desecrate the Shabbos in order to save someone's life. We've all been to shuls where this guy is walking into shul with deepers in Shabbos because they're not solar squad, right? So Pekuach Nefesh overrides many other mitzvahs in the Bible. Similarly, if a Jew is in a Pekuach Nefesh state spiritually, there are also halachas that deal with that. But short of that, we all know that loving another Jew is part and parcel of the entirety of Torah. So that is the only caveat that I could think of that would make sense. Every time you see in the newspapers the outreach organizations that are in business, Baruch Hashem, today, there's so many, you see the board of directors of all the Gedolim who stand behind these organizations, and there's not any voice that I know of that questions that, whether it's yeshivas for Russians, or whether it's gateways, or whether it's arachim. I mean, Kirov is what you're really talking about, and the concern for every Jew. But Moshe ruled many years ago that every yeshiva has to give tithe of time in order to reach the Jew who isn't observant. He says, if you're a yeshiva boy, you can't give money, you don't have money, give up your time. These are matters which have been by consensus embraced by all of Klal Yisrael. Yes?
I just wanted to mention that there's a little tiny booklet also Shlomo's sayings in English called Get High.
Yes.
And apropos of what you and Uri were discussing, there's one little teeny segment in there where Shlomo says, don't tell me how much you love me when you love me. Tell me how much you love me when you hate me.
Meaning to say,
I mean, that's very deep. I mean, it's very, very easy to love somebody when you're involved in all the good qualities and good aspects of that personality, but when the person is being, a horrible person, that's when it's a chore. It tends to be a chore sometimes.
It's a story we just discussed
Right,
a few minutes
exactly.
ago. The worst Jew is going to be a gift to the Mashiach. Good vach,
Just
yes.
because there's no chiyuv,
The story that you told about the tzaddikim who convened to decide what to do with them.
Yes, the Masa, yes.
How did they conclude?
This Rebbe carried the day. I forget his name. He carried the day. He was very big, and once he said what he said, no one spoke up after him. His was the final vote, which means he felt that even this Jew shouldn't be banished from the fold. One day he'll come back.
What about the harmony supposedly?
They didn't want to use sort of, what should I say, mystical means to eliminate. They obviously davened to Hashem that his power to hurt other Jews should be curtailed. But they didn't want to intervene and cause, God forbid, he should die. They weren't prepared to use that wrath. That's the point of this story. Enjoy the music. Eliyahu. Thank you. So I want to thank Rabbi Fund again for being with us. I hope that you'll be back again soon. And now we have something really historic and really special to round off the evening. Maybe we'll be singing until Nate's, and then we'll all daven chakras together. But I know that you have a passing schedule, so we want to ask you to stay. But of course, you're always welcome. So, what's historic about right now? When Reb Shlomo left this earthly plane, everyone loved his music. And everyone who learned to daven to his melodies had their davening room. Because they used to be able, like myself, to go shtiebel hopping and be happy anywhere. But now, because of Heshi Brody and Judah Roth and Yonah Landau and the head of the Holy Beggars Band, Rocky Zweig, and our Gabbai Uriel, they've ruined it for everyone. Because when you come to daven here, the melody takes you to someplace else. And never before have we had all in one room these great voices. And so now, tonight, and we're capturing this live on videotape, we're going to begin to let Rocky MC the rest of the program. Rocky Zweig!
Shabbat Tov again. I'd like to introduce somebody to you who I'm sure needs no introduction. That I go back a long way with. People think of him as an Upper West Sider now, but I know better. His roots are right here. Actually not in Flatbush, but in the Holy Land in Borough Park. When I knew Heshi, he was still Harold. And was known far and wide as a tremendous basketball player growing up. I think he's from the original graduating class of Meir Yeshiva, right? And he has gone on from here, from his humble roots, to be a spreader of Carlebach style Nigunim, probably one of the world's foremost authorities on Shlomo's Nigunim, and has traveled far and wide, doing Shabbatons for people, spreading Shlomo's work, and we're very privileged and honored to have him here with us tonight. Everybody give a warm round of applause to Heshi Brody.
Thank you, Rocky. Sitting next to Yonah Landau and Judah Roth, there are many people who know more Nigunim than I do. Shlomo is probably more, I should say, knowledgeable than Shlomo. Well, I know quite. We'll all sing together.
Nevertheless, you're happy, but such a level of ecstasy, such a level of rapture. I don't know what I was feeling. I couldn't understand why I was feeling it. And here we are, 18 years later, beginning to understand a little bit. Because the Rabbi Shalom works in interesting ways sometimes. Turns out that May 7th, 1982 was not only Bleeby's birthday, it was somebody else's birthday too. Admittedly born a couple of years before, but somebody who has become very, very important in my life. And, just as Bleeby has become the light of my life, the joy of my life, there's somebody here with us tonight in this room who has become very, very special to me. And I'd like you all to join me in wishing her a very, very happy birthday. Puri Menucha Tremin. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Nochi. Happy birthday to you. She's going to kill me. Make a wish. Make a wish. I'm so dead. You want to take it away?
Which of you cuts the cake?
I think there was a Shkaidish now. I think it would be appropriate to sing something from Howell.
She has a birthday too. Let's sing it again.
Another birthday.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
Anybody else?
Happy birthday. Happy birthday to you.
Yeah. You get a piece of cake.
Go ahead,
We're gonna wrap it up with a couple seconds. I just wanna share one little thing with you. This may be the last time you see me breathing. So last night, Friday night, with the meal, Rabbi spoke to me during the week and asked if I could prepare a little Torah. He's trying to expand my horizons for me, apparently. So last time he asked me this, Nochi and I put our heads together and came up with something from the internet. But whenever I put on the spot like that, of course there wasn't time for it yesterday as it happened, but whenever I put on the spot like that, I can't be like every other who's such a Tom. How do you say Tom Chacham in the cave? Okay, thank you. Or Rabbi Fund, you know, you just, person who's a bucket, you come up with something at a moment's notice. Unfortunately, I have to turn to Art Scroll. With that Art Scroll, we don't be lost now. Baruch Hashem. And I picked up this little booklet by Rabbi Goldwasser. It's something to say. Something to say for every parsha. It's fantastic. So in case you need a little version to say, you've got something you covered. So I'm looking at Parshas Kedoshim. I'm looking for something that is going to jump out at me that would be appropriate for a Carlebach style on Shabbos Friday night. So I opened the book, and usually you try to adapt something. Maybe this will fit, Shlomo's teachings. Maybe that will fit into Shlomo's teachings. This time, I opened the book, and it's mamish like Shemayim opened up and said, here, right here, this page, this is what you need. So that's why I brought it with me. I wanted to share it with you absolutely, totally verbatim. What knocked me off my chair. The way the book is set up, the way it's structured, he gives a little shot in the parsha, and after he gives the shot, he usually gives a little Hasidic Torah, a little Maisa, a little story to go along with it. So just listen, bear with me for 1 second. Lo sinna es achicha b'levavecha, you shall not hate your neighbor in your heart. Hocheach tochiach es amisecha. You shall rebuke your neighbor. Okay? That's from the parsha. So the Arizal asked, what is the correlation between the concepts of not hating another and giving him reproof? What does one have to do with the other? Rebuke, he answers, can be presented properly only toward one who is respected and loved by the observer. When one is sincerely concerned about another's conduct, as a father is for his child, any criticism is certain to be constructive in nature and acceptable to the listener. The closer two people are to one another, the more intense the relationship is, and so the rebuke is certain to be more sincere and easier to absorb. Now that sounds kind of Shlomo-esque in and of itself, don't you think? Shlomo was the type of a person that if he needed to rebuke somebody, he did it in only the sweetest, most wonderful way. That was the pshat. Now we come to the little Hasidic Torah, the little Maisa that he says, and I'll read you the first 3 words, and maybe you'll fall off your chairs too. Rabbi Carlebach was a man of great sensitivity, talking about Shlomo's father. When one of his children would misbehave, he would punish him by not allowing him to have jelly on his breakfast bread. But on those mornings, Rabbi Carlebach too went without jelly on his own bread. His devotion to his children was evident and certainly made his reproof more effective. Just wanted to share that with you.
Yerushalayim Yira Kodesh Yerushalayim Yira Kodesh Bimheinu Avav Yameinu Uvnei Yerushalayim Yerushalayim Yira Kodesh Yerushalayim Yira Kodesh Bimheinu Avav Yameinu
tell a very quick story of something from one of my travels where I go to many cities, and I was with a friend of mine, and we were coming back on a bus, and it was a pretty empty bus. We wanted to rest, and some old Jewish man got on the bus and started talking to us. And we had to talk with him. And he says, you know Rabbi Shakti from the West Side? And we come from the West Side, of course we know Rabbi Shakti, the rabbi of the Jewish Center, although he's leaving now. And I said, sure. He says, you know that his father, JJ's father,
Right.
his father was in the war, and it's not Herschel.
It's the other Herschel Shack.
The other. Anyway, his father was in the war, and when the American troops reached Auschwitz, he was with them. He was one of the first people to go into Auschwitz at the end of the war. And when he came there, the things that they saw were like totally shocking, and they saw piles and piles of bodies lying there. And he was there, and one of the generals was there, and he said to everybody, don't anybody go near them, it's probably diseased, don't go near them. And Rabbi Shakti says, I hear something coming out of one of the piles. The general says, don't go near them. He says, don't go near them, I'm telling you, we don't want anybody to get diseased. He says, no, I hear some voice, I hear something. And he went and he dived into the pile of bodies, and he pushed bodies out of the way, pulled out a little boy that was still alive. This boy today is Rabbi Lau, chief rabbi of Israel. So this is the story that this man was telling us on the bus. Totally, wow, you never know what you hear. Of course, we got back to the West Side, we said, Shabbos, we got to ask Rabbi Shakti about this story. So we came to shul, we saw Rabbi Shakti at the shul, I told him about this old man, and then tears in his eyes, he says, my father told me that story many years ago. It was the first time I ever heard anybody else tell that story very much. Subsequently, a couple weeks later, Rabbi Shakti's father came to the West Side, so once again we had to confront him and tell him, and he verified the story. Since then it's been published, I think, in a couple different Jewish periodicals. But I just felt I'd share that story, one of the things on my travels. You never know what you can hear or what you can find on that. But I think we should end up with something powerful. Shana Haba, the Shana Haba, the Shana Haba, Yerushalayim, Shana Haba, the Shana Haba, Shana Haba, Yerushalayim, the Shana Haba, Yerushalayim, Hallelujah, the Shana Haba, Yerushalayim, Hallelujah.
Yes,